Έχουν γίνει διάφορες συμπτώσεις εδώ στον αέρα του Εν Λευκό 87 και 7 για να γίνει αυτή η εκπομπή που θα γίνει τώρα, αυτή η συνέντευξη. Μαζί μου είναι ο Μάκης Παπασημακόπουλος. Χαίρετε. Είμαι ο Σταύρος Διοσκουρίδης. Και η μία σύμπτωση που βρεθήκαμε δεν θα την αναφέρουμε τώρα, αλλά η άλλη είναι η ταινία Birthday Party. Είναι η ταινία Birthday Party σε σκηνοθεσία του Μιγκέλ Άνχελ Χιμένεθ, η οποία θα βγει στις αίθουσες στις 2 Ιουλίου στα θερινά σινεμά της Αθήνας και της περιφέρειας. Και το Birthday Party είναι ένα βιβλίο που κυκλοφόρησε, στην ουσία βασίζεται σε ένα βιβλίο που κυκλοφόρησε το 2007 του Πάνου Καρνέζη, όπου η μεταφορά του στη μεγάλη οθόνη έφερε μια φοβερή συγκυρία για μας, μια φοβερή ευτυχία, μια φοβερή τιμή να έχουμε μαζί μας σήμερα τον Willem Dafoe εδώ στον En Lefko 87 και 7. Welcome.
Thank you.
We're very happy to have you
good.
here.
Well, I'm happy to be here. Yeah.
And my first question is, are you going to have the Greek citizenship?
That would be nice. I'll keep on coming back as long as they'll have me. Yeah.
I mean, because you've developed a very close relationship with Greece through your recent creative collaborations.
Right.
I mean, do you think you have a better understanding of the Greek psyche by now?
Oh, I wouldn't dare say that. I've been asked this question because I'm doing press for this movie, and people are noticing that I've had kind of for a guy, an American, an Italo-American actor. I've done a lot of things with Greek filmmakers. I can't quite connect the pieces. I mean, I know why I like Greece, but each of these filmmakers that I've worked with is quite different. But and also I don't need to for me personally, I don't need to examine it. I just go. So often I why I do projects is the people, the places, the way of doing it, the conditions. It's not as a lot of people think. It's not just about character or story. You don't know that until you do it, So I really trust people, places, and things, and challenges. And I find, there's a kind of, I don't want to say renaissance, but at least in my awareness, when I come to Athens in particular, there's a good energy. It reminds me, particularly among the young people, maybe it's delusional, maybe it's not enough information, but I feel like there's something going on, and it feels like the same thing that I felt a little bit when I was in New York as a young man. After kind of bouncing back from a lot of rough times, as New York did in the early 70s. I was there and the city was flat, and then something rose out of that problem. So I'm kind of going around the question, but I'm just always happy to be here. And each Greek filmmaker I've worked with, the path is very clear for me. It's specific to them.
So I mean, you the story of the birthday party relies quite heavily on the story or the character of Aristotle Onassis. Were you aware of the intricacies of his life story?
Intricacies, I'm not so sure. I wasn't an expert. I knew certainly certain things about him, largely because of Jackie O, and somewhat Maria Callas, But I didn't know a lot, and I couldn't quite place it. I can place it watching it from an American point of view. But the point was, I knew enough to know that I didn't want to think about him too much. I'm an actor who plays the scenes, and I'm an actor that normally likes to have an experience. I'm not about conveying a meaning or giving a message. And initially I thought maybe it wasn't right for me to play this role, but after a while I thought, yes, it's a wonderful challenge, and I always comfort myself of thinking of two examples that always come to mind are like Burt Lancaster in The Leopard and Marlon Brando in Godfather. These are people that you should never cast if you think you're going to cast someone that is close, has a similar experience to those people. They're very far away, but sometimes when you're far away from that kind of wealth, from being Greek, from being a businessman, from having those kind of political dealings. When you're far away from that, sometimes you can have a fresher take because you go towards it and you have a level of curiosity about it that maybe has a new take on it. And hopefully that's what happens when someone who is far away from something goes towards something, towards a situation.
What, you are far away, but what is your feelings about Marcos, about this guy?
You know,
Do you love him?
I have
Do
to
you
be
hate
him.
him?
I have to be him. So, you know, the conventional wisdom is you've got to give him his time in court and make him fully human and give him a chance, you know. So I try to see all sides of the guy. I try to be him. You know, what I concentrated so much was on the relationships. And the one thing that keeps this movie from being a melodrama or family drama is the relationships. All the different relationships he has are very specific and quite complex, and they all have at the heart some sort of ethical crisis because of who he is, because he's domineering, because he's has this inflated self-importance and really believes that what is going to save him is his legacy and building something and control. So that's really what I was thinking about most of the time.
I mean, it's interesting that you say that, because I was thinking, watching the movie, like, how does one approach a character that's so far removed from the average human? You know, like, you're talking about a man so dependent and high on wealth that it's almost impossible for him to see who the average person is, and for an average person to see who the hell this guy is.
I think it's a little easier because we have that rubbed in our faces all the time. No, culturally, you know, we know what the problems are. We know with this kind of rise, you know, there's going to be some damage, right? And not only damage around him, but damage to himself. So I do have compassion for him. He's a man that really kills the thing he loves. And also he's a man that is so driven that he appears to be living life because he has so many things that we give value to, but he's not able to enjoy them because he's so driven. Now this, we have some kind of understanding of. But this is one of those stories where we can see how we can look at the shadow side of his self-made manness, you know, and I think that's interesting because on some level, culturally, at least in the West, we still believe that. I don't know, and there's nobody in this room on some level that believes if they're wealthy and they accumulate a lot of things, it'll protect them and give them a good life. And we all have to cultivate an understanding of the price that is paid when you do that, and that, you know, that kind of rise has to happen ethically. And then we see that beyond politically now, because if it's not connected to the people around you, you know, you just become a kind of oppressor. When the trailer showed up, I couldn't get a link immediately, but I knew it was online, and I was curious about the trailer, and I looked at it, and then I couldn't resist looking at some of the comments, and some of the people are like, "Hey man, when are they going to stop making movies about rich people? I'm sick of rich people." And I get it, but really this is a kind of analysis of you know, cultural desire to survive. Marcos, going back to how do I feel about him, he's a man that's been hurt by life, you know, and by some tragedy, some personal tragedy. And his solution to that is to, you know, keep going on his path. And then kind of, in the case of his legacy, it's very clear in the story, his son dies, and what he's left with is a daughter, and he tries to put a round peg into a square hole and forces her to a position that she has no interest or volition in.
I mean, there's this amazing scene in the movie where there's the dance that the main character does, and it's almost like it focuses on him as an entity to begin with, and then it opens out and you realize he's dancing in front of an audience that makes the audience almost not important, because it's clearly picturing his internal conflict at that point. I mean, it's such a moving scene in the sense that it's got nothing to do with a dance, and it's all about this amazing portrayal that you have of his internal conflict. I mean, how does that one scene come to life? Is it more about you interpreting it and sort of talking to the director, or is the director bringing you the main idea? Because it's such a personal interpretation of your own body movement.
Right. I always have a physical approach, and that was very important because it gave me something specific to work on. And it is performed, and it is considered, and it becomes a meditation on his kind of pain, because this is kind of like an abstract Zabekiko, you know? Yeah. And it's really him showing himself and opening himself up to the people and showing his pain. You know, I'm not an expert on it, so I'm not sure that's always the purpose of Zabekiko, but that's kind of the feeling. And it wasn't so much the director. Of course, that's part of the script, and he looked at what we were doing. But interestingly enough, I worked with a great dancer, Evangelia Randou, who is a Greek woman that has performed with some of the great directors and has done some great performances. And she choreographed it and worked with me. And that was important. That was an important thing to do as a task, to prepare for the character, and then to perform it really helped fill in certain gaps.
There's almost like a string connecting a number of films you've done over the past few years of your career. There's Inside, and there's The Lighthouse, and then there's this. And it's almost like it's 3 films that look at loneliness from very different perspectives. Is that an issue that concerns you growing older?
I don't know about growing older. It's always concerned me, I suppose. You know, I think we're all alone, you know. That's a struggle, and particularly now, you know, given...
But is it something that draws you to a script when it...
No, I don't... maybe intuitively, but I'm not conscious of that. As I say, you know, it's really not about the script. You look at situations, and you look for space to make something. Because really... I mean, I come from a background of theater making, not doing plays, but making performances. And one of the things that I love about, you know, it's like you're taking these elements and you're reordering them in a way that they don't normally exist. And you're learning something about those origins of those elements, and they take on new meaning. So it gives you a new understanding. And I'd say, this is kind of elliptical, but you know, loneliness is a huge dilemma for us all. You know, it's reflected in our identity and all our social relationships and how we, you know, our emotions. So I think as I get older, I'm just more conscious of the kind of alienation because of the technology and how we're living, and people are living in boxes, and there's not the same kind of looseness and kind of warmth and social contact that there used to be. Maybe that's part of getting older too. Yeah. I don't know, because you're not a kid running around, you know, imagining a future. You've lived a life. You still have life to go, but you know, it's sometimes risky. Sometimes people are looking back more than they are looking forward. Of course, I try to cultivate, you know, a certain kind of present-mindedness and look to the next thing, you know, look forward. But we're always, you know, it's the Peggy Lee song. Is that all there is?
I mean, because you have such a huge body of work, and you've pretty much touched upon every style of cinema. You've done action, you've done horror, you've done more left field cinema, you've done all sorts of stuff. And it's almost like any actor, your body of work is out there to be appreciated and interpreted by so many people. And I remember hearing a quote by Gary Oldman talking about his earlier movies like Sid and Nancy, and like doesn't really like talking about that particular film. Because I'm obsessed with To Live and Die in LA. It's one of my favorite films of all time. And I just wanted to ask, like, can you still mentally connect with those characters now when you ask to talk about them? Is there some characters you can't even recall where you were at that point?
You know, memory is pretty tricky, but one thing that I feel very strongly, when I watch a movie And I don't go back to movies sometimes if there's a retrospective or something. But if someone asks me and they walk me through, I don't remember scenes. But if you show me a scene, and sometimes people do, show you a clip, I can remember my life then. It's like a home movie for me. Not only do I remember the making of the movie, but it makes me remember, what I loved, what I was afraid of, where I was at, what my ambitions were, what my fears were. It's all there. So those movies are something of an abstract record of a life, and that's probably why I don't look at them. I mean, for example, I've been writing a journal all my life since I was 22 years old, and I've got tons of journals. I never read them. It's the act of doing it that's important.
No, not so much.
But and I must admit, though, just like having done a lot of movies and done a lot of different kinds of work, I'm not addressing it directly, but I will confess that there's some comfort in knowing that's behind you.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like I can be more reckless in my decisions now than I was when I was a young man, because I was more worried that, a failure would destroy me, for example. It wouldn't give me opportunities. Now, the only, I'm conscious of, as you get older, sometimes I see older actors, great actors, and there's nothing for them to do. So I'm conscious of that. But I also feel more reckless because I feel like there's enough work there that a dud or a misfire
won't be the end of you, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is always handy.
What?
Which is always handy.
Yeah, it's got. You shouldn't be thinking about that, but it is a comfort,
I mean, it's inevitable, right?
I guess.
It's
why people, that's why people do all kinds of things. You build an identity. I try not to, but that's part of the identity, because that, you wear that on your sleeve a little bit, because you do interviews and things, and you're reminded all the time of what you did, even if you want to forget it.
Is there still a specific role that you haven't played yet, but
I'm sure
a dream?
I'm sure there's many specific roles, and I don't. As I say, I never think in terms of roles, and if that sounds a little off, I don't know what to say, but I don't. And I get that question sometimes, what would you like to play? What would be your dream role? I think that's a trap. If you know what it is, you probably shouldn't do it, because you have an oppressive formed idea of it. I really think you have to work from curiosity and a little fear and a little challenge and find something, because when you find something, it's like falling in love. You have a different energy, and it opens things up. You've got a more open heart or more open mind, and that makes you more available to shapeshift. Then all that past disappears, and you're engaged in a way that, it is what it is. You're devoted to the task, and whatever happens, you're not even worried about, because the quality of being there, the quality of what you're doing is so delicious, sensually, that that's what's going on. And that's what also keeps you from freaking out, freaking out when things get hard, or freaking out when a movie goes bad, or freaking out where you can't quite find it.
But do you still find that you're mesmerized as much as when watching a movie, or has your professional career kind of taken the shine off it a bit?
No, I can still, I must say it helps. It is true that, like if I can't watch a movie where I know, I always love watching movies where I don't know the people. I mean, where I don't know whether they're supposed to be famous actors, or I don't know whether this is supposed to be a great movie, or I don't know, that's why often I probably watch much more foreign cinema than I watch, for example, American cinema. Not as a snob thing, but if I'm watching a movie, it does interfere with me if I know the guy's politics and I don't agree with them, or if I know he got paid, $25 million for the picture, and he's a pig on set. That stuff does affect me. Also, that's why I like non-actors sometimes. I'm not saying that films have to be with non-actors, but they have a different approach because they have a different ego. It's not as people that they don't have an ego, but or like people with special abilities. They do what they can do. So there's a purity to it. And what I have problem with sometimes is watching movies where it's self-conscious, deeply self-conscious and deeply self-serving. A neediness where you feel like you're there for them. That's what you have a problem with. But if you don't know them, even if that's true in their hearts, I don't feel it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
What was the story behind to say yes to take this role
It's a combination of things. We'll use this example, this movie, The Birthday Party, as an example. I'm working on a film called Inside with, by chance, another Greek director.
Vasilis Katsoupis.
Vasilis Katsoupis. And the producer is this guy, what's his name? Yorgos Kanavas.
Dino De Laurentiis.
And I admire, not to blow his horn too much, but I admired, he was really a creative producer because we had a script that was beautifully written, but then when we actually did it, I think we had to do some tweaking. That's not a diss to the writer. It was just the reality of what we were doing had to be tweaked. And he was always greatly helpful. So we became very close around that. And he said he bought this book and he was dreaming about doing it, and he showed me some visual examples, and I thought, very, very cool. I like this guy. And then he introduces me to the work of the director, a director I did not know. I liked his movies. I thought, why don't I know this guy? This is exciting. This is new for me. And then I'm not sure it's for me, but then he says, yeah, you can do this. And I believed him. And, it's that kind of progression. You want to go towards, once again, I mean, the best way I can describe it is you want to go where there's a fruitful field to make something.
There's this, the film kind of builds to a crescendo but never comes. It's almost like it's building and you're expecting something.
What's that called?
I really liked it because it was really surprising, because I was thinking that it's going to be something, because I hadn't read the book. I knew of the book, but I hadn't read the book. Mm-hmm. And the end is almost like deflating a balloon, and it just leaves the protagonist at the end of the pier in this fantastic rendition of Go Let Me Be Misunderstood, which is like a spoken word thing. I mean, how did you, was the idea of the spoken word rendition of the song your idea, or did someone?
No, I don't know exactly, but Yorgos Kanavas is the one that presented it to me, and it was quite late in the production, so I think it was something of an afterthought. I don't know whether it came from Miguel Angel, the director, but I thought it was great. And that kind of not Bafo ending is, I thought it was true to the events. You could probably find a more satisfying ending to send the people out whistling, but I think the damage was done.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a total massacre, and it wasn't a resolution. So life goes on, and everybody, carries on the wins and the losses, or the hurts and the loves. It continues. So I thought that was a very, I'm not designing that so much. That's more a director.
Did you approach the actual speaking of the lyrics? Did you have to study the song, or did you? I mean, obviously,
it was a very quick thing. It was a very last minute thing, and it wasn't labored at all. We just went in very quickly, and the idea was to keep it very simple, because you didn't want it to be a joke. You didn't want it to be a performance. Oh, the guy can sing. So it was important to not lean into it too far, let the song do its thing, let the words do its thing, and give some sort of quality of he's considering these words, and I think it's a beautiful ending.
Have you ever found yourself at a real life party, like the birthday party?
I don't know.
So many movies.
Things a little like that, but not quite. Certain elements. I've been at the pool and I've been, I've seen naked people and all that kind of stuff. What can I tell you? But a lot of the other stuff, no.